Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. This is episode number 89. Clara is once again back on the couch. We are going to be talking about everything that we watched in the month of October. Let's get stuck in. All right, so the 2nd of October, I'm sort of caught up on Squid Game, which is kind of a bit random. I had a really sort of fun shoot that I did with kind of Virgin Media and Netflix, which didn't actually warrant me to watch the entirety of the show, but I had only seen season 1. I hadn't seen season 2 or 3, but managed to sort of catch up, watch basically all of it. And Clara, you did as well?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was, it was nothing on season 1, which I did then go back and rewatch afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was fun. And I thought the ending, the sort of culmination of the last season, to be actually very sort of, at some points, quite heartfelt and satisfying. Although I do feel it lacked in character development. I did feel like the first season believed much more in how everyone would react in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas towards the end of this, they were very much more sort of caricatures, evil, good.
Yeah. And
you're like, well, actually, do I really believe they would have acted like that?
Exactly. Yeah. And sorry, guys, to sort of throw you straight into sort of Squid Game. I know it's for some of you, it'll be a little bit of a throwback, and for others, you probably might have not even seen it, or you might have only just seen the first season like we had. But essentially, seasons 2 and 3 are specifically what we're referring to, and yeah, of course, like the game gets sort of redone, and I feel like a lot of the kind of the drama was overly, I felt, melodramatic.
Yes, that's exactly the word.
Yeah, and not to a sort of a level of kind of effectiveness that I thought that the show thought it was giving off, I want to say.
Some of it, they were like, this is so deep and meaningful, and because it was a bit melodramatic and because the characters weren't super developed, it just fell a little bit flat. Yeah,
like always with Squid Game, it's like the games are the most kind of exciting parts, but also just how those games change the characters, I guess, is the more kind of human, more interesting parts. And I felt like it was a little lackluster, but overall I still thought it was a solid enough ending.
I just would like to point one thing and then we can move on, but I did feel like the violence in seasons 2 and 3 again didn't feel as believable, and just like, I want to do the most horrific thing as possible. Like, obviously we know Squid Game is horrifically violent, that's kind of the point. But I did feel like the violence contestant on contestant, you felt was very real and in a very sort of almost gang-like manner, which felt believable. Whereas in this one, it was like, do I believe that many people could stab each other hand-to-hand combat who'd never been violent in their life?
In complete cold blood. It's not even like necessarily the games are making them act in that way. It just feels a bit excessive in that.
Yeah,
in that
and
sense.
you're just like, it was a really good episode, but I just didn't believe people would act like that. But
it was fine. A fine ending, I'd say. On the 9th, we watched our first film that we saw at this year's London Film Festival 2025. I have sort of done an entire episode talking about everything that I watched at the London Film Festival with, of course, Panwa, which you can check out. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. But of course, Clara is on the couch this time. I've already given sort of the majority of my thoughts, and I'll sort of just bounce back off you, but Tuna, which was the surprise film of this year's London Film Festival, thoughts?
We were going in thinking it was going to be Mickey Supreme, and I was
Marty Supreme.
Lol.
Mickey Supreme.
What am I thinking of? Is there
Mickey 17?
Mickey 17. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I was like, I know there's a film. Anyway, whatever. I was going into it thinking it was going to be Marty Supreme, and I was actually so glad it wasn't. Was such a surprise and a really good film. Like, it was this director's first attempt at a fiction
feature
piece.
And
I thought it was really heartfelt, well acted, funny. Again, like, maybe left something to be desired with a bit of a mishmash of crime plus romance and it just, some places you were like, this tonally feels a little bit wrong. But other than that, really, really enjoyed. Solid watch.
I the way I described it is I feel like it's a very sort of mass appealing film. Regardless of who you are, this is a kind of one size fits all kind of film. Like, there's something in there for everyone. It's a solid watch, managed to blend a lot of different genres well together. Great performances from Leo Woodall and Dustin Hoffman when he's in it, and all the performances really pretty solid.
A little thing that irked me, that doesn't irk anyone else, is when they shoot people playing instruments, and you know when it's not, and them. you know much love to what's the main actor called?
Leo Woodall.
But he's not a concert pianist.
Yeah.
So he puts his hands on the piano in a wide shot, and then it's the close up of the pianist, and then Leo Woodall's body going like, and you're like, okay, yeah, sure.
I feel like the problem with those kind of films is because Leo Woodall plays, we didn't even explain the premise, but he plays a piano tuner. So when I said the film is called Tuner, it's got nothing to do with fish. He plays a piano tuner, so he's this kind of like lost prodigy on a piano. So I feel like anytime there is musical instruments involved in a film, you are as a viewer already going to be asking the question, is that the actor or is it someone else? So that's why it's so important that those scenes are shot in a way that makes it feel as believable as possible.
Yeah, and I do think that like there is something to be said for Whiplash and La La Land, how well they did the music scenes, and
how well edited they are,
you just believe. I mean, I think Ryan Gosling did learn piano.
He did.
But you do believe it is the actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
To 100 degree the way it's edited. Whereas with this, I mean, again, I'm minorly picking. Yeah. It's just one of these things that like vaguely irks me with films.
Yeah. The next night, we went to the gala for Yorgos Lanthimos' Bugonia, starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Yes. I enjoyed this a lot more than you. I thought it was, like his signature sort of black comedy, and I think it was kind of one of his more straightforward films, something much more in the lines of Killing of a Sacred Deer or The Lobster. I mean, Lobster's not really a straightforward film, but linearly told, I would say. And the premise is really fun and darkly sort of twisted, but you've never really been able to buy into fully the Yorgos hype, correct?
Well, The Favourite is one of my favourite films.
Well, aside from The Favourite?
I really enjoyed Poor Things, really, really enjoyed Poor Things. I hated Kinds of Kindness. I thought it was pretentious, and I didn't like, as we have discussed before, the excessive nudity. But I feel like I have never seen the other Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Lobster. I thought it was a brilliant film. I thought it was really Bugonia.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well acted. I was tense the whole way through. I did feel like, from just a purely like storytelling perspective, there were moments where I was like, okay, we're going around this circle again. Like it's about a CEO that gets kidnapped by these two men. Conspiracy theorists.
Who believe that the CEO is an alien intent on destroying the planet, basically.
And while she's, being kidnapped and is being held in their house, there are quite a lot of circular conversations between her and the two guys. And yes, each one reveals slightly more, but I did feel a little bit like, okay, yes, we're going around this circle again.
So you didn't feel like the conspiracy, sort of the writing around the reasonings for this undertaking to be...
I thought the writing was really good. I did feel a little bit, and maybe it was the filmmaking's point, like to feel a bit claustrophobic in that setting.
Right, yeah.
But I was sitting, like the fifth time or whatever they have this conversation, I'm like, yeah, okay, great, we get it. And I did feel like I knew where it was going towards the end. Like you even turned around to me afterwards and said, well, I knew the twist.
Well, I didn't know it, but you could have kind of hazarded a guess.
But so there were some issues like that I had with it. Other than that, really interesting, really good. I like the way it sort of portrays both sides of sort of the evils in maybe modern politics or modern society.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, there's something about Yorgos Lanthimos and just the way he depicts the world as being totally loveless, and he's a very cynical director.
Yeah.
And I do personally, as like a personal taste thing, I don't like sitting with his films quite a lot. Like I just don't find it a comfortable experience. And while I think it's interesting and important to experience different kinds of art, it's never going to be my favourite film.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it's also worth mentioning that the ending of this film is quite bold. There's a lot of bold images.
I did like the ending. The ending was fun.
I liked it a little better than you, but there you go. Bugonia, check it out. I think it's in cinemas right now. On the 11th, I watched 3 films, the first of which was Tron Ares. I had to put myself through 2 hours of sort of AI-generated, what felt AI-generated pain. A lot of cool visuals, as you could expect with Tron, any sort of Tron film. Tron Legacy is a sort of, I want to say guilty pleasure, but I do think like it's had such a big resurgence amongst sort of social media and whatnot, but Ares for me just did not do it. I did an entire episode with Ben, Crow's Critics, reviewing the film. If you want to check out my full thoughts, please go over there. We sort of got into a little bit of a kind of, it wasn't even a rant, but it was more so just to kind of like scratching our heads like, gosh, like really is this like what we're left with? So yeah, Tron Ares, I gave it 1.5 stars. I think it might have been one of the lowest rated films I've seen this entire year. I didn't fuck with it. So there you go. But after that, I met you and a couple of others for It Was Just an Accident, which is directed by Jafar Panahi, an Iranian filmmaker. This film won the big prize at the Cannes d'Or Film Festival, the Palme d'Or, the Cannes Film Festival. It won the Palme d'Or. And of course, it made its way to London for the London Film Festival. I think it's brilliant, very sort of subversive and quite an unconventional, but also straightforward and simple film in a lot of respects. It deals with a lot of morally complex themes that I think that will definitely challenge the audience. And like I said, it's quite sort of told and portrayed quite simply. And I found that quite interesting and quite genius in the way of like how it's able to depict such morally complex things in such a straightforward way, if that makes sense.
I kind of get what you're saying, that like they didn't need to, like as it starts off, you're sort of sitting with one man for a while, following someone else, and it lets you breathe with a character, not really knowing what's going to happen next. You really feel like you're living with them. It doesn't need to throw in lots of plot or lots of different things, conversations, dialogue necessarily to portray what it needs to. Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah, like I guess I mean, with the subversive side of, yes, it opens with one character, and then sort of 15-20 minutes later you start following another character, and you're not actually sure what the film is. At least I didn't even know what I think the best way to go into it is completely blind, like catch yourself off guard a little bit and really allow the film to sort of have its effect on you. I think I'm sure you'll agree with me, but the ending of the film is like one of the best endings of the year, I would say. But sorry, you were saying.
No, I just mean when you said like it does it in a very ordinary way. I didn't really understand what you meant by that. That's why I was trying to clarify. I mean, I think often in times when we look at films, and films, especially films that make a sort of big, sort of lasting impression of us, thinking, sort of causing us to think, you know, as we leave the film and for days, sometimes weeks onwards, they are films that are very kind of technically impressive. And this is a technically impressive film, but it isn't trying to be something sort of, you know, and I think this is very, this is very... It doesn't have like that clever one shot or like this crazy filmmaking piece.
Absolutely.
It focuses on telling this story in the best way possible for this story.
Exactly. But it's also, I think you find that a lot with Iranian films. They're not big on sort of these huge kind of Hollywood swirls and making the films look as kind of flashy. And
I guess
obviously the subject material is not one that warrants that. But I guess like, you know, international cinema, opening yourself up to sort of more stories, but also different shades of how those stories can be told, I think is ripe here with It Was Just an Accident. I thought the film was brilliant, had one of the best endings of the film, very well acted.
And I think, I mean, we say about those sort of flourishes, but what was also impressive was just the story of how this film got made.
Absolutely.
Like, I guess, you know, they're these guys that have to fit the entire casting crew in 2 cars. Like they're not going to be able to do a lot of things that Hollywood filmmakers are going to be able to do. So I thought that was just very impressive to hear how a film like that gets made.
Definitely.
And like very inspiring in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, the film was really brilliant, and really an interesting sort of look at forgiveness, I thought, or how to deal with trauma in a very like honest way from a lot of different perspectives. I didn't think it wasn't preachy, it wasn't too like, it was just,
I think the film definitely becomes about forgiveness, but I think the core theme, at least what I took of it, was like about like the sort of murky line between justice and revenge kind of thing. And these characters are sort of wrestling with this moral dilemma. We won't give away what the film is kind of really about, but do check it out if you have the time, and definitely open yourself up to Iranian cinema. I think this is something I want to do much more of as well.
Because we watched last year
the Seed of a Sacred Fig,
which was also really brilliant. So it was a really interesting watch, and I definitely agree with you.
Later on that night, we unfortunately but we watched After the Hunt, which was Luca Guadagnino's new film. Didn't love it, unfortunately. I'm really sad that Luca has given us a film that I actually just don't think is very good.
All of it I find kind of frustrating. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
What I find kind of frustrating about this film was that as it started being set up, I thought, wow, this could be really interesting. And it just sort of devolved into characters monologuing and not really saying that much in a film that thought it was much smarter than it really was.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I was kind of, and like you said, I was kind of disappointed in Luca Guadagnino, a director that in my head I think of as being quite
honest,
and also having quite a lot of great filmmaking style that's very appropriate to the story.
Yeah.
That, you know, he can go from making something super flashy and camp to something really sort of quiet and meditative and seductive in sort of, you know, and I just felt the filmmaking in this was jarring. The story was just a sort of compilation of monologues that didn't really give me anything. And I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, also, like, adding to the filmmaking, it was, I think, one of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's, like, really weaker scores, and they don't, all of their music, for me, every single film that they've done, their scores have always, you know, given something to the film. They've always been great. Those guys are so talented, and here, it just, like, I don't know what they were doing.
You know what the funny thing is about this film? Okay, I didn't love the script.
Yeah.
But all these different elements, the composers for the score, Luca Guadagnino, the actors, like all of those things by themselves are brilliant. And then it comes together in this piece and just like nothing really works. Yeah. Everything should be brilliant. It's just quite jarring. Yeah, that's what I felt.
I think the film is quite insufferable. You start watching it and then you realize what kind of film it's going to be about, and you have to endure 2.5 hours of it.
Yeah, it's too long as well.
It's just I don't necessarily recommend this one. The next day we went to see Benny Safdie's new film, The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Emily Blunt. Of course, this is The Rock's sort of big kind of turning point, I guess you could say, in his career, moving from the kind of big sort of loud movie star to something a bit more sort of restrained, I guess, in that sense, something a bit more, a project that, you know, isn't sort of preaching outwards, but more so looking inwards to a character. And I think, you know, he... I've never thought he's like a bad actor or anything like this, but this was a chance for him, I think, to really sort of show his range and become...
Yeah, I've only ever seen him in like action flicks.
You've only ever seen him play himself.
Yeah, basically. I've never seen him in anything else. So.
Yeah, and I think he's very good in this.
Yeah,
I think he's very good.
Really good.
Emily Blunt is, of course, fantastic. She elevates...
She steals
every film.
Steals the whole film.
Every film she's in, she just elevates, you know, and Benny Safdie sort of breaking away from his sort of brother. You know, the Safdie brothers, they've sort of done films together, but now this is their first kind of solo projects with The Smashing Machine, and obviously Josh Safdie doing Marty Supreme. Thought it was a solid film, although did leave a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm less of a fan.
Sure.
I appreciated a few things about it, one of which was how they did the fights.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like cinema fights. I felt like they were more how I've never really been that into MMA, but like seen bits of real fights, like real scraps and things like that. I thought that was good. But yeah, I just didn't really care that much about the main character. The only thing I really cared about in this film was the relationship between him and Emily Blunt. Yeah. And I felt like that was very underdeveloped. Like when we started getting bits of it, it was started to be a bit more interesting. Yeah. And then it just sort of, we were back to him sort of these sort of fights that I didn't really care about that much. I don't know. I just didn't really find, and maybe it's me and that I'm not really that into that kind of stuff, but I have loved films before about sport or fighting or whatever that I'm not that into. I just didn't feel the sense of jeopardy or feel why, other than the fact he didn't want to lose, I didn't really feel why
I think
he needed it.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I'll say correct. No, I agree. I think the actors are definitely doing their best to paint the story that just isn't sort of fleshed out enough in the script. You know, there are all these kind of different sort of shades of, not Mark Coleman, Mark Kerr, who's, you know, a real life fighter. This is a biopic in a sense, you know. And, you know, there are different kind of shades to him. You know, his relationship with the sport that he clearly loves. And
oh my God, and his addiction.
And his addiction, his relationship, how that affects his relationship with his girlfriend, who played by Emily Blunt, but also his relationship with his like comrade MMA fighter Mark Coleman as well, which I felt like the film was trying to build up to this sort of eventual sort of fight between the two of them that doesn't happen, spoiler alert, but I just don't feel like any one of those lanes were really sort of fleshed out in a way that
and
felt...
again, like the addiction stuff, I almost completely forgot that was part of his story because it's so briefly touched on and is almost just used in a play in their relationship. And I don't know, I felt it was lacking basically. Interesting, but lacking.
Solid film, I would say. It's not quite there. I think a couple more script rewrites would have maybe done something a bit more.
And maybe if it was less, I feel like he must have been very involved with the making of it. He comes on at the end, Mark Kerr.
Right.
And I do feel like when you're so close to someone in their real life, it's hard to really delve into those like worst parts and those like most traumatic parts of someone's life that you can do with fiction. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that must be quite difficult. I don't know if that's the reason, but I could see that being a stumbling block. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
No. I do agree. I'm not sure how much involvement he had in the film. But yeah. On the 13th, the next day, we were back at the London Film Festival watching Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, starring Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, David Bradley, Charles Dance. An exceptional cast. All of these actors we got to see right live in the flesh, which was amazing. And Guillermo came out before the film started, talked a little bit about how much this is sort of his dream project ever since he came across the material when he was a boy. And this was a story that I feel like was inevitable, that we would see a Del Toro sort of reimagining of, for sure. One of my favorites of the London Film Festival.
I absolutely loved it. Yeah. I love Guillermo del Toro's ability to tell, basically, I think you said it on the other episode, but it was my line.
Stole it from you to say on the other episode. Now you're stealing it back from me.
But he makes fairy tales for adults, and I love that. And I think, I sort of have a sort of vague background in animation, and I just love the way he uses his visuals to tell stories. I think it's phenomenal. He doesn't hold back. Everything about it is so gorgeous, and from pieces of set design to costume to everything, the acting was brilliant. Jacob Elordi was really, really good. I did really, really enjoy this film. I would like to have a minor rant about cinema etiquette.
Oh gosh, yeah.
If you go to, especially the London Film Festival,
this is crazy.
I'm sorry, I found this mad. This is the London Film Festival. The filmmakers are in the audience. Have some fucking respect for what they've done. And even if you're going to a cinema generally, lots of people there have spent their hard-earned money to see a film in a place that is dark and silent for a reason, to experience the art that someone's worked hard to make. Don't go on your phone. If you want to go on your phone, fucking leave. Like, why are you there?
Go on your
Watch
phone,
it at home. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, don't come.
3 idiots in front of us. Like, I'm not insulting anyone who works in finance, but like very much like finance bro type of idiots, just like wouldn't sit still like in front of us, and like tall guys as well. So it did, like, you couldn't fucking see the film.
And just chatting the whole way through. Just don't go, like, watch it at home. If you want to chat through a film, just watch it at home. It's
you
fine.
would think at a film festival this would be a safe place for you to like, genuinely just sit back.
And I just think it's so disrespectful. Like, people have put years of their life into making things like this. But also, again, like, even if you're just in the cinema, just think about the other people that want to experience this in the best possible way, want to appreciate what's happened here. Again, like, sometimes you need to take a call. Sometimes you need to check something. Just go outside. Like, no one's stopping you.
Yeah.
Like just, I don't know. I just think it's so rude.
Yeah.
But go on. And like, also, like, loads of people, like, spent ages in queues and really wanted London Film Festival tickets, who care a lot about cinema. If you don't give a shit about film, leave it to people that want to go. Like, you catch this on Netflix, watch it another time in cinema. Like, not to be that person, but it is important. People have spent a lot of time on this. There's other people that would appreciate those tickets.
Absolutely.
Just treat it with respect.
But Frankenstein, big thumbs up from us.
Love Frankenstein.
It's getting a mostly positive sort of reaction, I would say, if not a couple of mixed. What's going on?
He's laughing at my teacher rant.
Oh, okay. Isaac Strange, who was here on the One Man After Another episode. Go check that one out. He's off camera currently shooting images, and he gave us a little giggle there, as you can see. Anyhow, moving on. The next day I went to see Bradley Cooper's new film, Is This Thing On? I've always kind of had a little bit of an issue with Bradley Cooper since he's become a director, filmmaker. Absolutely love the guy when he's in front of the camera, when he's acting. He's a brilliant actor. He's been in some of my favorite films, and I think he's a really, really strong screen presence. Magnetic, like everything you kind of want from a Hollywood leading man, I think is there. But him as a director, he's always fallen under the kind of slightly pretentious kind of performative director, trying to reach the greats of some of the great filmmakers, but not quite having... His films just come off as not super genuine to me, because I feel like you're just really trying to get the Oscar, get the award, get the awards recognition. Which is why I was so pleasantly happy with this one, because this is the complete sort of antithesis as one would say, to something like his approach to Maestro. Maestro is so maximalist, and it's, in my opinion, quite over directed, whereas this is like the most simple way in a lot of ways that you can shoot a film, for a lot of close-ups, a lot of long takes following the camera, and really allowing you to build a relationship with the characters you're seeing on the screen, which is why I cared about the characters, which is why I cared about the story and the material. It's about sort of guy going through a divorce, and he sort of stumbles sort of into one of these comedy clubs and sort of signs up to avoid paying the fee to get in. He signs himself up.
Why is this is a comedian's actual story?
This is John Bishop.
Oh, this is John Bishop's story. I was like, I've seen this.
Yeah. And of course the character is played by Will Arnett, and he sort of him kind of in New York, and it's about the relationship he has with his wife. Are they kind of rekindling, or is there sort of relationship doomed to fail? It's about the relationship that they have with their friends, and how sort of what this guy's purpose is, I guess, moving forward, and how dealing with mental health and things like that. And it comes together in a really nice way, and I really enjoyed the film. I don't think it's like an amazing masterpiece or anything like that, but for me, I want to see more of this Bradley Cooper. I want to see more of this direction.
Maybe he's like, he needed to go through that phase,
definitely,
and now he's just like sort of trying out different things. And also, I appreciate, like, for him, he must have sort of really wanted to go deep dive into it, make these phenomenal films, and actually to have, I don't want to say the humility, but the love of cinema to pull back and go, actually, let's think what are the stories I want to tell. Like, I do have respect for that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The next evening, we went to see Richard Linklater's new film with Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon. I love this film so much.
Yeah, Clara was crying.
I love this film. Again, like, I don't know if it was the quote-unquote best film that we saw at the London Film Festival, but I love this film. It's all sort of done in kind of like real time, set in a bar. You just sit with this character for
like an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half, and it's him sort of dealing with addiction, rejection, unrequited love, and I found it deeply moving, really sad.
Yeah. I feel like we all know a person like this in our lives, and that's why I feel like it hits quite close to home in a way.
Yeah, I really agree. But also I think everyone, like, as much as like a lot of his character is unlikable, the main guy, I feel like there's lots of aspects that like everyone can relate to.
Absolutely.
Everyone's had that feeling of rejection. It's all that sort of, your ego versus how you know that people are perceiving you and you don't really want to look at it.
Yeah.
All muddled together, and I found it really deeply moving.
I think it might be Ethan Hawke's best performance. I really hope he gets nominated for this at the very least. Blue Moon. The next day we went to see Die My Love, directed by Lynn Ramsey, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. I liked the film. You not so much.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to start and then I'll come in?
Yeah, I mean, it's about essentially a new mother going through sort of postpartum depression, and it's told in this sort of very artsy and kind of ethereal kind of way. It's a very, very well made film. A lot of the shots are like some of the most memorable shots you will see this entire year. There's an amazing shot of Robert Pattinson, and he's kind of wearing like almost like a cowboy hat, sitting amongst, he's like silhouetted. It's beautiful. Like, everything about this visually is fantastic, and I feel like kind of the filmmaking basically puts you in this kind of fractured mindset of the main character, played by Jennifer Lawrence, played amazingly well by Jennifer Lawrence, of this sort of deeply disturbed and mentally unwell person, and I feel like the experience of going through the film's events and all these sort of different sort of occasions, kind of as this character, I found quite frightening and quite like really effective, and something you don't really quite see as much of in film. And I thought this was a wholly unique film. I thought it was an experience. I don't think I necessarily connected it with it emotionally, which is where I think the main kind of flaws for you come into place. But I enjoyed Die My Love, and I think if you want to see something weird and a bit more out there, a bit more bold in his sort of filmmaking style, definitely check it out when it comes out, which I believe is coming out very soon. But take it away.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. Very interestingly made, not like a lot that I've seen. Definitely very like, she goes on to do more and more sort of horrific and out there things, and you sort of like, it's almost expected, like it becomes normalized in that filmmaking world. So yeah, she does more and more sort of horrific things, and in that world you're like, yes, this sort of makes sense, even though it's crazy. And I think that's an amazing talent. It looks gorgeous, it's well acted. But yeah, I really found it almost, I didn't feel it. That part maybe I felt in it, but a lot of it I was looking at like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is sort of a manic pixie dream girl dealing with postpartum depression. This is not what it's like. This is not really. And it was just one of these, it was very aesthetic. A lot of her wandering around in a see-through white night dress holding a knife. Like, I don't know. It was just very, I did find it a little bit grating in a lot of ways and a little bit repetitive.
Sure.
And yeah, it was well acted. But again, I thought there was some deeper things it could have
really
delved into. I thought the relationship between her and Robert Pattinson was really interesting. The grief of her mother-in-law and their relationship, really interesting. You know, her trying to deal with other mums and that feeling of inadequacy. All these things were like glanced over just as an excuse to have her do something a little bit crazy and take off her clothes. And it was kind of like, and I'm not saying that I actually didn't mind how they dealt with the nudity, but like it just was like, for me it was very like style over substance.
Sure.
And I think that's partly what I was just sort of, it's not like I hated it, just a bit like, okay, sure.
Fine,
I don't know.
Fine. Fair enough. The next night we watched The Black Phone. I'd seen this before, you hadn't. I really like The Black Phone. I think Black Phone. It's of course directed by Scott Derrickson, starring Ethan Hawke as this kind of slasher sort of serial killer who sort of kidnaps children, and there's also a supernatural element to it as well. For me, although I enjoyed the film, I don't necessarily think it quite makes sense, and I know a lot of horror films don't necessarily have to make sense as long as they are effective in their scares and their sort of tension, which this film definitely does have. But I feel like I've never really been like bought into the idea, the concept of it that much. Like it's never really fully made sense to me. There's this like serial killer, but there's also this sort of phone that you can use to contact the dead, and the sort of, and there's this like psychic girl, and the three of those things don't always for me like
it doesn't make sense why they're there. It just is a way for them to solve the problem.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's a solid horror film, I think.
And I think for me, it was just really fun seeing Ethan Hawke play a role like Blue Moon, going to a role like Black Phone, you know, sweet sort of guy, a bit tragic, to evil psychopath serial killer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was really good, really well acted, very exciting. But it doesn't quite make sense.
The next day was the last day of the London Film Festival. We started the morning off by going to a screening of some animated short films. Yeah. Because of course you are working on your first animated short film.
Yeah, which I really, really enjoyed. It was nice seeing everything there. We had some directors come speak about their work.
Yeah, a lot of sort of really a range of animation, stop motion, 2D, 3D, whatever that might be. Really fun experience. And also like do you feel like it helped you a little bit in the way
I think it was very interesting, and I think just about sort of telling some more sort of slow-paced meditative pieces, as well as some really sort of funny and again some really sort of more fast-paced dramatic heartfelt things. It was like so nice to have such a range, not only in sort of style but in theme. I thought that was really, really cool. And I just really enjoyed it. Definitely very helpful for me seeing sort of what else is out there and sort of where my own film fits in with all of that.
There you go. More on that. Probably next year, I would say. Yeah. Before we saw the last film that we watched at the London Film Festival, we watched The Black Phone 2. Just really underwhelmed by this one.
Yeah, really not very good.
Yeah, really shot really well. Like the Super 8 stuff was amazing, but also
Ethan Hawke is not in this film.
He's not really. No,
he's like, I don't know how they did it. Whether he just did mostly voiceover or did like one day of shooting, but yeah. I just feel like a lot of the writing here was so cringe. Like there's this, you're presented with an incredibly serious, quite frightening situation, and you have people say the most outrageous sort of unbelievable things that just completely take you out of the film. And again, like the concept, like a lot of the problems I have with the first one, again, it's just heightened here.
Even more sort of obvious and painstakingly so. Like a sequel is a good opportunity for you to really define that concept a bit more. And I was looking forward to hopefully doing that.
Even more ridiculous.
It was just more. It didn't make
zero
sense.
Yeah. Like at least with the first one, it was like, this is what we need to do to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And now all these things fit together to solve it, even though you don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
Whereas in the second one, it was like, this is what you need to do to solve the problem. Yeah. And yet do all these things. The problem isn't solved. Do new things. Okay, fine, we won. Like, it just doesn't really make sense.
So unfortunately, just really underwhelmed by the sequel to The Black Phone. Just really, I appreciated the kind of location change up, but on a whole, just quite underwhelming. And then to finish off the London Film Festival that year, we saw what I think the pair of us would probably say was the best film that we saw this year at the London Film Festival, which 100%. Is Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. Just brilliant through and throughout. What can I say? I already spoke about this film with Panwa, but it is, I mean, just from a directing perspective, it's just absolutely just masterful. I don't know there's no one else quite moving the camera quite like Park Chan-wook.
He has such a distinctive style, but his style in no way ever takes away from the story or from the like world that you're in. And I think one thing you said about it with Panois that I loved was that it is this sort of critique of capitalism, but not from poor versus rich.
Poor, yeah.
It's just from a family just trying to keep their lifestyle and make things work, and the pressure that people have in order to maintain that, but also what do we constitute as having a good life, pride in what we've accomplished and what we've achieved and what we can give our children. And I think for a lot of people that this is what they're struggling with now. And I think it was actually really eye-opening to see a film that I think really most people would sort of agree that is their lived experience. And he does it in a way that is not too earnest. Like, it is a crazy story.
It's a crazy story. It's hilarious and also deeply quite dark as well.
No, exactly. Like, it's hilarious, dark, and speaks to something that I think a lot of people are going through. So I think it is just brilliant and really, really well acted. And I can still sort of see that kind of garden aesthetic with really images that just stick with you.
Brilliant film. No other choice. Later on that week, we watched Roofman, which was at the London Film Festival. We didn't catch it, but we did catch it in cinemas, which is, of course, Roofman, directed by Derek Cianfrance, who I love, Place Beyond the Pines, Blue Valentine. This time, instead of Ryan Gosling, it is Channing Tatum playing Jeffrey Manchester, a real-life person who was sort of ex-military, who wants to provide a better life for his daughter, but he's broke, unfortunately, and then he starts drilling, using his specific skills, he starts drilling into the roofs of McDonald's restaurants. But he's like the kind of the nicest kind of criminal there is in a way, so it's a weird kind of play on like this guy's a really nice guy,
and like what is the justice system actually like, quote unquote, protecting us from,
right?
And again, towards the end you feel more about, although he's so nice, he's clearly misguided and actually quite dangerous, but like there are parts of it where you really sort of sympathize with him, and you almost, although he's committed a crime for no other reason than sort of wanting to get richer, you do feel for him, and he's so sympathetic the whole way through. And I think that is, I really like that about the film. I thought it was really interesting.
It's a bizarre story. Like, it's a crazy true life story. He sort of hides out in a Toys R Us for 6 months, and then
hilarious as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Hilarious.
And then he sort of falls for one of the workers who's played amazingly well by Kirsten Dunst. And it's kind of like it's a really likable film, as Panmore said, but also like it's delightfully sort of tragic in a way, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's really sad.
Next up, I rewatched, but you watched for the first time, Barbarian, directed by Zach Cregger, who of course did Weapons earlier this year. His first solo directorial debut. I love this film. I think it's brilliant in a lot of aspects. I think the first half is probably stronger than the second half, but
definitely.
Again, like the subversion and the character perspective change up is something that people saw with Weapons, but was obviously established first here in Barbarian, which is just equally as kind of brilliant, even though it's kind of more singular and linear with its vision. But thoughts?
I loved this film. Thought it was really good. Again, I really, really liked the first sort of third of it the most. I found it really creepy and like you're not really sure what's going on. Like, you're not sure what kind of film you're going to get and if you trust everyone. And I thought that was really clever, really terrifying, especially when they sort of go down for the first time. I was so scared. And there's a moment where you have sort of a horrific incident happen, and it cuts to a sort of bright, like funny almost scene. And I thought that juxtaposition was, again, really brilliant. I thought it did lose its way a little bit towards the end, where you just sort of felt like the sort of unknown and the fear had sort of gone out of the film, and you were like, okay, yeah, that's all they need to do to survive like that. Let's get there. But other than that, absolutely brilliant. Really fun.
Yeah, great. Up next, we've got Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Of course, if you're a big Bruce Springsteen fan, this is probably a film that you're going to probably get on with maybe a bit more than us. You know, we do know who Bruce Springsteen is, we do know his music, but not necessarily have an attachment or an investment in him. But of course, here he's played brilliantly by Jeremy Allen White, who we love from The Bear. But unfortunately, like, genuinely, we came out of the cinema, the cinema, and I kind of just said it was kind of a bit of nothing, really.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was a lot of sort of moody shots.
Yeah,
and
I know a lot of people have actually liked the film. Yeah,
but I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't feel like it delved that much into what the film's main point was, which I think was his mental health. Yeah, didn't really delve that much into that. I felt just a lot of moody shots, writing music, and not a lot of substance, I would have said.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I feel like it was quite a very surface level depiction of mental health, and I thought, the performances were great. For me, actually the most interesting part of the entire film was the kind of midway point where I thought the film was going to become more about this, but it was about how he, like the creation of Nebraska, the Nebraska album, and kind of the back and forth with his label and trying to get the mixing right and all that. So I found that stuff really interesting, but then it's only sort of a 10-minute portion of the film.
And it sort of gets resolved very quickly. Actually everyone's backing him because he's such a big success anyway, and it's sort of the jeopardy. There's not really a lot of jeopardy in the film, I'd say. Yeah,
like it was a kind of mellow, sort of chill watch, but for 2 hours, and a biopic with this much talent, you got Mark Strong, Jeremy Strong in there, and Jeremy Allen White, and
great acting was great.
Yeah, promising cast, but just unfortunately, didn't really materialize into something that I felt was lasting for me.
Yeah, I agree.
In the sort of biopic genre. I think A Complete Unknown, which was last year, of course, was I think a much stronger film in my opinion. The next day we watched Misery, directed by Rob Reiner, starring Kathy Bates and James Caan. Brilliant. One of my favorite films to watch during this time of the year. Quite a cozy sort of, film. Brilliant. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of a classic, and Kathy Bates is an absolute
When
force
you said, because he didn't tell me what it was about, he put it on and he was like, this is one of my favorite films to watch this time of year. I thought we were going to get some sort of like Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, cute autumn film, and no, it was
anything but.
But brilliantly acted. Definitely like scary, and you really sort of are with him trying to figure out how to get out. Brilliant film. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's actually better that you go into it as blind as possible. It's just the whole thing is just absolutely brilliant. James Caan, Kathy Bates, fantastic. The film will stick with you. Definitely. And it's a film that you're reacting a lot to it as well, I would say. On the final day of October 31st, Halloween, I didn't actually go out trick-or-treating, believe it this year. I instead decided to... I don't actually go out trick-or-treating anymore, just to clarify. I actually just sort of stayed in, had a cozy night in. You were in Sicily. But I rewatched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, classic in the genre, one of the great slasher films. I watched it once when I was quite younger, and it sort of scarred me. This film isn't actually quite as violent as I sort of remember it to be. It is still obviously a very, very violent film, very, very graphic, very just nasty film. A lot of screaming, a lot of chainsaw noises. It's just not, it's not necessarily a lovely film to watch. Let's put it like this. But I think it's so well made. Like it has like quite a lot of artsy shots. The sound design is brilliant. Also, like the way the chase scenes are choreographed are brilliant. I feel like the entire sort of all those chase scenes have you like kind of really on the edge of your seat, because the kind of the Leatherface is the iconic character, is like just one grab away from sort of getting the final go, and the entire time it's like kind of put in that kind of proximity, that sustained proximity. I think it's so effective. Nasty film, but it's a classic for a reason. Very well sort of directed, very well made, and some of the best eyeball shots in cinema. So maybe I won't watch it.
There you go. So guys, that was kind of our whistle stop review of everything that we watched in the month of October. Do let us know if you have any thoughts on any of those films, as well as what you watched this spooky season. Clara and I will be back at the end of November to discuss everything we watched in November. Thank you so much, Clara, for joining us on the couch. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you very soon in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast. Cheers.